Hey, lovely viewers. I'm Christine Jurf, an author on a journey through the realms of history and fascinating landscapes of imagination. Join me in exploring captivating worlds where stories come to life. Curious to dive into my creations? Find my books on Kindle and in all major bookstores. Let's embark on literary adventures together. Don't forget to hit subscribe and join our bookish community. Ready to turn the page? Let's begin.
A cult can be described as a group you can join by fulfilling the wishes of a charismatic leader. That's a simplified description of a cult, but it doesn't cover everything. A cult is considered to have a charismatic leader who can influence others for their benefit or the benefit of the group. This also applies to our elected officials in politics. I want to develop this further. In both family and politics, we all have a need to believe in those who will shape our future. We want to be accepted, loved, and equipped for the challenges ahead. We believe in the future that strong bonds can create. I know that I am very mentally strong. Because of this, I withdraw from many social situations to leave individuals in a maturation phase where decisions for the future are created by the individuals themselves. I throw out some anchors here and there and always provide a parachute. For me, it is crucial that the student learns through multiple sources, and I only point towards an alternative path. In a cult, the leader exploits their outstanding ability to influence their surroundings toward a desired result. The cult leader is charismatic or very mentally strong and manipulative. The religious belief in the cult is less important. The cult only exists as long as the leader is present. The leader is the driving force. On November 18, 1978, a total of 918 people died, 909 in Jonestown, and of these 272 were children. To be fair, in my presentation of People's Temple and Jim Jones, I want to first talk about the dream, the perfect Christian and socialist society that was behind the ideology. In 1955, Jones founded the Church Wings of Deliverance, which later became the People's Temple. 1966, when Jim was seen as a healing pastor, his sermons could be structured like this. First, he spoke about injustices, then racism, and finally healing. He knew that what attracted people were miracles, but to experience them, the congregation had to listen to social criticism first. In the back of the church, there was healthcare personnel and tables set up for free healthcare. For the community's seniors, there were blood pressure monitors, and others could be tested for immune diseases. They also had a well-organized social activity, including accompanying members to hospitals when needed. So one can perceive significant social engagement. Until 1978, Jim had been the group's pastor and, as he himself said and others testified, a caring father figure. He had, in his intimacy with the group, seen the group as an extension of his body. He believed that people had no life without him. Members were not just a part of his life. He could no longer separate them from himself. Despite the symbiotic intimacy in the group, there were always some who found this uncomfortable and deserted, taking the group's somewhat unsavory history to anyone willing to listen. The group, which had grown into a small community in 1978, was under intense pressure from the public authorities and concerned relatives. With Jonestown, the society was shielded from scrutiny, and the world's vivid fantasies built catastrophic images before anything happened. The pressure was not only on Jim Jones but also on the American authorities. What was really happening over there in the jungle? Due to all the media coverage and the pressure from worried relatives, Congressman Leo Ryan took on the mission to investigate what was happening in Jonestown. He took with him a group of people and journalists with no clear opinions about the Temple sect. What Ryan and the journalists saw were happy people dancing, singing, and loving life in their small town. Within the camp or the Jonestown Society, they practiced so-called white nights disaster preparedness every other night. They held meetings about the security and the future of Jonestown and the Temple sect's survival. In these meetings, they also practiced collective suicide. There were reports of armed guards monitoring the meetings, but the weapons were not meant to keep people away at night. They were aimed at the group. So there was clear mental stress on the society's members, which was also justified by themselves. Deserters could not see the logic in what was happening and could feel the connection with the group or Jim Jones' consuming love. Those who were strong fled. Every time someone left the community, Jim Jones took it very badly. He could not understand how anyone could leave his care and love. He was life itself for the community, and he was ready to die for them all. One of those he identified as a threat to the group and their freedom was the American government. During the death speech before the suicides, he repeats, "I would rather turn ourselves in than let them slaughter our children." Within the speech he says that there is no other solution than to voluntarily end their lives for the right to freedom before they, the American military on behalf of Ryan, come to kill us. The recorded tape was just one of thousands of documents about the activities in Jonestown. It doesn't leave much room for further speculation. The tape, he predicts, "Someone will shoot the pilot. It's nothing I have ordered, I just know." Jim still speaks like a prophet to his members, even though he has planned and sent out his loyalists to shoot the pilot. The plane was supposed to crash in the jungle. The group of defectors warns the impending journalists about the loyalists' suspected mission. It doesn't go exactly as Jim planned, and after the loyalist wounds 2 people, he is overwhelmed. Jim has decided at the same time as Leo Ryan and the others leave Jonestown that the total tragedy will now happen, and it will be on the government's shoulders. It was a revolutionary suicide. From the beginning, Jones's message was a Christian community based on love for one's neighbor without segregation of color, relationship, or status. He reached out to vulnerable individuals and offered food through his soup kitchen, homes for the homeless, and free healthcare. During the time in San Francisco, he had over 2,000 members. The dream was Jonestown, the budding socialist paradise. Something Jim does not address during the tape is the truck with Jones's followers that comes to the airport and executes, among others, Leo Ryan before they have boarded the larger plane. Through everything I read, I feel that Jim Jones had grown tired of his work. His son claims that Jim was influenced by drugs, unstable, and tired of life in general. Since he had grown together with his congregation, he couldn't just pack up and leave. There were incredibly many people whose lives he controlled, and that might be something to consider when judging. How easy is it for a parent to control just one child? Every day, year in and year out, Jim Jones was a father to around 1,000 children in his congregation. He experienced threats from outside to their utopia, which were both real and skewed conspiracy theories. It was time to end it all now. I must say that the death tape is one of a kind, where the listener knows that the man speaking is leading nearly 1,000 people to their deaths as soon as the tape ends. Somewhere I want to interrupt the divisive and reality-absent thinking, but when this happened I was 8 years old. He gently encourages parents to lay down your children's lives so they won't be slaughtered later. I am appalled and fascinated by the number of people who willingly give up their lives, and it seems like only one woman is trying to find a way out through discussion. One may not know what a charismatic leader is until one reads about Jim Jones. I would like to thank ChatGTP for adding some facts to the story. 1. Jim Jones founded the People's Temple in the 1950s in Indiana, USA. Initially attracting followers with promises of social justice and racial equality, the organization later took a darker turn. 2. Moved to Jonestown seeking a utopian community free from perceived persecution. Jones moved the People's Temple to Jonestown, Guyana in the late 1970s. The isolated settlement allowed Jones to exert greater control over his followers. 3. Isolation and control. Jones employed manipulative tactics including isolation from the outside world, strict discipline, and psychological manipulation to control the members of the People's Temple. This control played a significant role in the tragedy. 4. White nights. As mentioned, a community regularly practiced white nights, simulated emergencies to prepare for what Jones termed as revolutionary suicide. This practice desensitized the members to the idea of mass suicide. 5. Congressman Leo Ryan's visit. The events leading to the tragedy were set in motion when U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan visited Jonestown to investigate allegations of abuse and mistreatment. Some members expressed a desire to leave with Ryan, and this fueled Jones' paranoia. 6. Mass suicide. After Ryan's visit, Jones ordered the community to commit what he called revolutionary suicide by drinking cyanide-laced fruit punch. Those who resisted were coerced, and some were injected with poison. The exact sequence of events is harrowing. 7. Aftermath. The Jonestown tragedy remains one of the largest incidents of mass murder-suicide in modern history. It led to increased scrutiny of cults and raised awareness about the potential dangers of charismatic leaders exploiting their followers.
It is of course of interest to spread awareness. I believe we must enlighten and enlarge the probability of existing, but unveiled fundamentalistic leaders amongst our politicians globally. Just because someone says he or she is a caring individual, or that a certain belief is the right one, doesn't make this person honest. Sometimes the problem people share to solve is the solution itself. Increased oversight. Organizations with significant influence over individuals should be subject to thorough oversight, especially when they involve communal living or isolated communities. Regular inspections and evaluations could help identify potential issues early. Educating the public, enhancing public awareness about the tactics used by manipulative leaders and the characteristics of cults is crucial. Education can empower individuals to recognize warning signs and protect themselves. Psychological support. Providing accessible mental health resources and support systems could help individuals who find themselves in vulnerable situations. Cult leaders often exploit psychological vulnerabilities, and having support networks can act as a protective factor. Government intervention. Timely and thorough investigations into allegations of abuse or misconduct within organizations can prevent the escalation of harmful practices. Government agencies should be responsive to concerns raised by members or concerned individuals. Media scrutiny. Encouraging responsible journalism that investigates and reports on organizations with potential for harm can help inform the public and deter leaders from engaging in abusive behavior. Legal safeguards. Strengthening legal frameworks to address coercive control and manipulation can provide the basis for intervention before situations escalate to the level seen in Jonestown. International cooperation. Given that Jonestown involved an international community, mechanisms for international cooperation and communication could enhance the ability to address potential issues in such settings. It's important to note that preventing such tragedies is complex, and no single solution can guarantee success. A multifaceted approach involving various stakeholders, including government agencies, mental health professionals, and the public, is necessary. Additionally, balancing the need for intervention with respect for individual freedoms and beliefs presents a delicate challenge.
Thanks for listening. Do come back and listen to more stories and adventures, and don't forget to subscribe.